Hello everybody, and this is me, Amin.
And this is Alex.
Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About, and today we're going to talk about the Mi 10T. So the last quarter of this year has been like a super busy period for a lot of manufacturers. Last month alone, which is in September, we saw Samsung launching a phone, we saw Oppo, Vivo, and a few other brands launching like a slew of phones in just 1 month. And obviously that's because COVID-19 has like thrown a spanner in a lot of the works that's going on from the brands. And then also we talked about the Poco X3 NFC in our previous episode. So there's another new contender that's on the table today. It's the Mi 10T. Obviously, this was launched, I think, a few days ago. By the time we watch this, it will already be available in Malaysia. Pricing details is not available yet.
I'm going to update the link below description if it's out already.
Okay, so it'll be updated in some way in the video in terms of the price. There are 3 versions of the Mi 10T that's just been announced. The Mi 10T, the Mi 10T Pro, and the Mi 10T Lite. Here with me today is, of course, Alex. He's good at the memorizing of the specs and everything. So he's going to walk us through all the different specs and stuff about the Mi 10T. The question today is, value for money phones are a lot nowadays. There are a really good list of phones that you can get for like super good price with like super good specs. Obviously, these are all Android phones. The question today is should the Mi 10T be on your list? So right at the top of our list from our previous episode is, of course, the Poco X3 NFC. That's like the best value for money phone you can get, hands down, at any price range. Okay, not at any price range, but at a budget price range for below 1,000?
$1,000.
Below 1,000 bucks. The Mi 10T comes at a different segment, right? Okay, so I'm going to let Alex talk us through what the Mi 10T is, and then we'll elaborate from there. Okay, go.
Okay, as you know, most manufacturers, they have like 2 waves of flagship phones. Like for Samsung, you have the S series in the early part of the year. Second half of the year, you got the Note series. Huawei also has the P series in the first half of the year, and you have the Mate series in the second half of the year. And for Xiaomi, it's the same thing as well. They have the 2-year cycle. So early this year, we have the Mi 10, and now we have the Mi 10T. So this is the successor of the Mi 9T, which was released like second half of last year. So this is supposed to be like the updated flagship with a slightly more affordable price tag compared to the original Mi 10. So first up is that this time we have 2 models, the Mi 10T and the Mi 10T Pro. At first, we thought that these are 2 different specs because last year the Mi 9T, just to recap, came with a Snapdragon 730 processor, so that's a mid-range processor, and you have the Mi 9T Pro, which had the Snapdragon 855, which is the flagship processor. So this time around, it's a bit interesting because both the Mi 10 and the Mi 10T and the Mi 10T Pro runs on the same processor. It's a Snapdragon 865. And what's more interesting is that it's the same processor you get on the Mi 10. So it's like, why aren't you putting the latest and greatest processors right now? Because everyone else, they release the flagship phones, they're running on the 865 Plus.
So the upgrade to the 865 is the 865 Plus.
Yes.
But I would argue that there's really not much difference lah. But okay, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
After the processor?
Okay, so apart from the processor, another major difference for this device is the cameras. So the Mi 10 and the Mi 10T, although they look identical, the main camera for the standard version is using a 64 megapixel camera. And the Pro version gets a 108 megapixel, the highest resolution on the smartphone. And of course, for those who want more power, the good thing is that both models gets a 5,000 mAh battery. It's a huge battery for a flagship phone, bigger than the Note 20 Ultra. And so that's the key headlining specs.
The display?
Oh, the display, that's the biggest upgrade over the predecessor. This time, it still has a similar 6.67-inch display with 144 Hz refresh rate. That's super high.
Okay.
I think the closest one that has this refresh rate is the RG Phone 3.
Okay.
But, there's a big but. It's using an IPS LCD panel, not AMOLED.
Okay. For a flagship, I think that's... And for the price we expect that Xiaomi is going to ask for this phone, I think that's not unexcusable lah. It should be an OLED panel. Does Xiaomi make OLED phones?
Like the Mi 10, and then the Poco F2 Pro, those are AMOLED screens.
Okay.
So this, I think, probably the first time after a long time to have a non-AMOLED screen on a flagship phone. But then again, they are looking at pricing this more affordably. At the same time, they're giving things that fans want. So you get a big battery, you still get a high refresh rate. But the screen, okay, to be fair, although it's a not AMOLED panel, it's actually pretty bright. If no mistake, the maximum rated brightness is 600 nits. It's better than your average LCD displays, but
not so bright for me. But okay.
Yeah.
As in the comparison, I mean, we talked about this in the Poco X3 NFC. AMOLEDs can push much higher nits.
Yeah.
In fact, on average, I think the Note 20, S20 can go 1,000, up to 1,005 maximum easy. So okay, 600, right? 800.
600 nits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we talk about
and of course there's also sunlight display. So let's say if you're under harsh sunlight, it's still readable because it has this technology that plays around with the contrast, so that it's still readable. Yeah.
Then you want to talk about the display and the RAM.
Yeah. So in terms of specs, the standard Mi 10 comes with 6 or 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage, non-expandable, as you expect from a typical flagship Xiaomi device. And the Pro version, you get 8 gigs of RAM and storage options of 128 and 256.
Okay. Mi 10T and Mi 10T Pro. How much do you think the phones? Oh, the charging. Does it have wireless charging? Does it have NFC?
No wireless charging. It has NFC, and also it supports 33 watt fast charging via USB-C.
Do you know what comes in the box? Are they going to give like an extra fast charger? Because Xiaomi usually does that, right?
Yeah, they did that. I'm not too sure about this one, but you know, this only comes with a 33 watt fast charger. Unlike the Mi 10, I think they're super generous to give you like a 65 watt brick, which you can probably charge a laptop.
Yeah, but the phone only supports like 20.
I think the phone supports 50 watts though.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a bit downgrade in terms of charging. Yeah.
Okay. So, in terms of pricing, what do you expect the price of the Mi 10T and the Mi 10T Pro is going to be? Okay, what are these phones' competitors? So we have the Note FE, S20 FE.
Yeah, you have S20 FE, which is priced at 3,399 ringgit in Malaysia.
That's similarly spec, right?
That's similarly spec. The display is an AMOLED screen that pushes 120 Hz, still pretty good. Snapdragon 865 processor as well. For Malaysia, Samsung's getting very generous. They're giving 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. Yeah, and you also get the triple camera setup, pretty similar. But the difference is that the Note FE has telephoto. Unfortunately for this one, right?
Is it Note FE or S20 FE?
Sorry, S20 FE. Or is it confused between these two? Okay. So it's S20 FE. So that comes with like a proper versatile camera setup. You get a main camera, you get an ultra wide, you got a telephoto. This one doesn't have a telephoto.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, speaking about cameras, right? If you look at the device here, sorry for those who are listening in to the podcast. If you're watching this in video, right? You can see this camera. It's huge. It looks like the Vivo X50 with that main sensor at the top. So looking at this, how many cameras do you think this thing has?
1, 2, 3. There's 3 at the bottom plus a flash. Looks like there's 4.
Okay. Looks like there's 4, right?
Yep.
Okay, if you look closely, okay, this one's the main, and then you have these 4 holes here, right? Apparently this is like a dot. There's nothing here.
What?
Yes, it's only a triple camera setup.
So for those of you who are listening on podcast, the camera bump is kind of like rectangular. I'm just going to describe it. So at the top of the camera bump is like a big round lens. Obviously it's round. The lens is a big lens compared to the other ones. So there's on the rectangular bump, there's like 5 holes. So one of them is for the flash, and that's located at the bottom left of the bottom left for me. Bottom left or right? Okay. I think I'm making a. Never mind. If you're listening to our podcast, I'm not going to waste your time to describe how the bump looks like and where the fake camera hole is. Head on over to our website, straightninja.com, and the picture will be there so you can view later, okay?
You can describe it, right? It looks like a domino piece. So at the top, you got one big hole, and at the bottom, you have like a 2x2 setup.
Yeah, so one of them is a dud. And what? Why?
I don't know why. I mean, why can't you just stick to a design that
I
fits three
guess,
cameras?
you know why? I guess they want to make it look symmetrical because there's four holes at the bottom. I guess that's the reason why.
Yeah, but I feel so cheated looking at that. I mean, you could add another flash or maybe an IR sensor. You know.
I mean, that could be cost. It's like how DJI does their drones now, right? So they have all those vents, and those vents are like just
Fake exhaust.
Yeah, yeah.
Fake vents.
I guess it's for aesthetics lah. But oh my god, I don't know. Can you guys see the camera bump on this thing?
It's huge.
So this is the Mi 10T Pro version with the 108 megapixel main camera.
Yeah.
The main camera is 108.
And it's a 13 megapixel ultra wide angle lens and a 5 megapixel macro shooter.
Okay, so usually when phones have huge bumps like this, it's to house the
Periscope.
periscope lens, right?
Yeah.
Usually. So if you look at the S20, the Note 20, they have a similar thickness in terms of the camera bump, but they have that telephoto telescopic lens.
Yeah.
This one doesn't. In fact, this one doesn't have that, and it has like a fake hole.
Yeah, it looks like, and somehow if you look at the bump, it's extraordinarily thick. It's like, okay, if you look at the design, it looks very similar to the Vivo X50. And the X50, there's a reason why it's thick, because it has like a gimbal-like stabilization system.
Yes.
So yeah, you have a complicated camera setup, that's why you need the space. But for this, I don't see why it has to be this thick, because they have other 108 megapixels camera before, like the Mi Note 10. It's not that thick.
Yep.
I guess they were thinking like, oh, you know what? Look at Samsung Note 20. It looks pretty huge. That shows that, yo, we have an awesome camera. Let's do that as well. It looks like a double chin bump. It's like you can see one layer, another layer on top.
Yeah, I think you're right, Alex. I think the reason why they do it like this is just to tell people, hey, if it's a big bump, it's a good camera.
Is it a big camera, or are you just happy to see me?
Yeah, I think. Okay, so we talked about the price
Not yet.
and the competitors.
Yeah.
We have the Note, the S20 FE,
Yep.
and of course we have the X3, Poco X3 NFC, which is like really good. I would argue almost the same specs, bigger battery, kind of same camera, maybe not the 108, but you know. This is probably going to be double that price.
Yeah.
A bit more than double, close to what, 3K?
I was expecting, okay, going to the price, right? In Europe, this starts at 499 euros.
Okay.
This is about 2005. And
Okay.
then the top spec model, the Mi 10T, that goes as high as 649. That's about 3,000 ringgit. But coming to Malaysia, I think this is going to be, the cheapest model could be 1,999, I guess. Could be slightly less than 2,000 ringgit. And then the highest spec model could be maybe 2008.
This is the Mi 10T range,
Mi 10T
not
range.
the Lite. Okay, we
Not the Lite,
haven't
yes.
spoken about the Lite. So I don't know. Again, it's difficult for me to, and then I'm not happy that they copy a lot of things, lah. Right. So if you can see the wallpaper looks familiar, and then the widgets and everything. So let me just try to unlock this. That looks familiar. That looks. I don't know whether this is a new Mi UI thing, or
It's a new Mi UI. In fact, I think this one is done much earlier than the new iOS. But for me, my
no,
experience
but
Mi UI
was it done much earlier than the iOS, or is because iOS 14 was announced much earlier than the new Mi UI, right?
But you mean talking about this
Yeah,
particular UI?
yeah.
This UI has been out for quite a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Right, Rory? Yeah.
So you can.
Apple copied this.
No, but this is not on 14. This was available on like 12, 13.
I think 13, but this much earlier. This like, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess if you're not using an iPhone, you know.
Wow. What is that supposed to mean?
It doesn't matter, okay? You're not gonna know that it's a copy. If you want an iPhone, okay, then I guess this is nice. I don't like that it's an LCD. I can vouch for the camera. So the Mi, Xiaomi cameras are generally okay, can't go wrong. They're not great, but they're not bad idea. They're okay, they're fine. They're fine. You want to say something?
Yeah, for me, it's that the copying aside, right?
Yeah.
The problem with MIUI is that it doesn't feel as polished as the rest. And the thing about
It's
this
kiddish.
is that
It
it looks
like,
kiddish,
you know,
and another thing is that the problem with ads, because everywhere you go, right, there's always ads here and there. Yes, there's ways to disable it, but it feels so bloated. That's the problem with the MIUI.
Yeah. The lay person maybe would. The ad is a big problem, But the bloatiness, how would you describe to somebody that doesn't know phones what bloatiness is? Like, because they wouldn't know, right? What's not.
You can see ads. Like, I just want to launch my app. I just want to get to my app. We are seeing anything else that's not relevant.
Okay, so the ads will appear in the notification tray.
Even on the app drawer itself, when you like open certain categories, you can see like recommended apps at the bottom.
Recommended.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can configure to have an app tray or not.
Yes, you can do that.
Yeah. Okay. So it's MIUI. It is. I mean, ad heavy and stuff like that, but okay lah, and it looks very kiddish. If you want, you can customize it with themes and stuff. I think that's not the problem here. The problem here is, why would I pay close to 2,000 ringgit for this over everything else? Okay, is there like a competitor that can fight this one?
Okay, it depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for like a gaming phone that has a high refresh rate with a huge battery, I guess this is something that's worth considering if it's priced less than 2,000 ringgit. But if you're looking just for the performance aspect of it, and you also don't mind a slightly smaller battery, I would say that the better buy would be the Poco F2 Pro. Because Poco F2 Pro also runs an A65 processor, also a similar 6.7-inch screen. Although it's not pushing a high refresh rate, it's still 60 Hz, but it's using AMOLED screen. So that's better in terms of camera. So in terms of display. And the battery is also pretty huge, 4,700 mAh. And you can get it for as low as 1,499.
Yeah, that's a
steal.
865 5G, right?
Yep, 865 5G.
Yeah.
Same
so
as this.
This one has 5G.
Yeah.
The Poco phone, Poco F2
Pro. Yeah.
Why would I get this? Okay, it has a power button that's also a fingerprint scanner. It has
stereo speakers,
IR blaster, stereo speakers. I don't like the display, so I don't know. Okay, Rory, just hang in there at that camera. I'm going to try and show you a problem that I found with this phone. This is an LCD panel. LCD inherently not as bright as AMOLED, and they have a backlight problem. If you look at the punch hole on this camera, on this display, this is the Mi 10T Pro. You can see there's like a dark haze.
Like a shadowy effect.
Yeah, like a shadow.
Even at the bottom here.
Even at the chin there, you can see. Some LCDs have this, some LCDs don't with the punch hole. But to me, this is an indication of a low quality LCD display. So you can see where they cut corners. And I make a huge deal about this, especially when Apple launched the iPhone SE. No, not the iPhone SE, the iPhone 11...
iPhone XR.
iPhone XR, which is supposed to be the budget version of the iPhone X. And I made a huge deal about like, okay, everything is great. They put in a good processor, they put in a good camera, battery life, and an ecosystem. You don't have to worry, but you pay for the cheapness on the display. And that's a huge deal for me because the display is the one thing that you use your phone the most. On your phone the most. In fact, you can't use your phone without the display. And for me, having that shadow halo thing, especially on bright backgrounds like white color and things like that is a gripe for me. So I wouldn't argue about the 865 processor not being an 865 plus. I don't really mind if the refresh rate is not 144 Hz. I don't mind so much, but that is a huge deal for me because I'm not a gamer. I don't need high refresh rate. I just need a really good phone. All right, so this one has stereo speakers. Okay, so that's also important because I watch Netflix a lot. I watch YouTube a lot on my phone, and having that experience is a big deal for me. So I think a lot of you guys will pay attention to that as well. So we have a video here, and let's see.
It's better than the Poco X3 NFC.
No, I think it's the same lah.
It is louder a bit.
No. So
It's better, but it's not as good as the original Mi 10. The Mi 10 that was much louder.
Yeah, I'm underwhelmed. The speakers are not that great. Yeah, they are stereo, but it's not loud. And it doesn't sound full for me. Okay, the other problem is it doesn't have an ecosystem. So again, an ecosystem is a huge deal for me. I go with Samsung because it has the Samsung Pay, and that's important. This doesn't have that. So my question is, would you get, okay, comparison between the 10T and 10T Pro, not much of a difference, right?
Yeah,
except for the camera.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Xiaomi is just putting out all these devices and you're making people like, okay, and then we don't know the price. So the price, I don't think is going to be so much of a difference.
It will be different because it's about 100 over euros cheaper than the Mi 10. But to me, right, I would say that if you have the budget to buy this phone, you must get the original Mi 10 because that has the same processor. It has an AMOLED screen. The speakers are louder, and during the sale, you can get it for less than 2,000 ringgit.
Okay, the AMOLED screen, is it a high refresh rate?
No, not high refresh.
Is the battery
it's 90 hertz.
Okay, is the battery bigger?
Its battery is slightly smaller. It's about 4,700 milliamp.
So we're back to the Poco F2 Pro territory.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's 1,006.
But the Poco F2 Pro doesn't have stereo speakers.
I wanted to say, yeah, it doesn't matter, but okay, yeah, that matters.
Yeah, and also have wireless charging.
Who has wireless charging?
Mi 10.
This doesn't.
This doesn't.
No. Who's Kali Sai?
No lah. Don't have. So it's not waterproof as well. Yeah, no water resistance.
Okay, what do you guys think? Mi 10T, Mi 10T Pro versus the Mi 10 original, and then we have the Poco F2. Which one would you get? My money is obviously we'll get the latest and greatest lah. So 2000 what? 2005?
Don't know yet. I think this could be slightly below 2000. The most maybe for the low spec one is 2003, but definitely under 3000.
Okay, Poco F2 Pro is 865 5G, AMOLED display.
Yep. 60 hertz.
60 hertz. Okay, 60 hertz display. 4,000 something or rather 700.
Yeah.
4,700 milliamp hour battery. No stereo speakers.
But it's a headphone jack, which is important to some people.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how Xiaomi is going to convince me to get this.
They're just flooding the market, dude. So like, okay, looking at Xiaomi itself, we're not even comparing with other brands. With the Poco F2 Pro, which is about 1,005 right now, and then you have the Mi 10 on a discount, you get for 1,009, 1,999, and you have this, which is probably going to cost 1,009 to 2,003. They're just flooding the market. It looks like Xiaomi has stockpiles of Snapdragon 865 in the warehouse. Like, you know what? We need to make more phones to get rid of these processors, and maybe that's the reason why there's no 865 Plus. Remember, a few months back, they announced the Mi 10 Ultra. That's supposed to be like the greatest phone they have to celebrate the 10th anniversary, and yet it still comes with 865.
It doesn't matter. I would argue the 865 and 865 Plus is not much of a difference, and for day-to-day use, I don't think it's a big deal.
But you're buying a new phone for second half a year. Why are you buying a
but it's still
processor?
current. I mean, the 865 is still current, and the 865T is not really a generationally newer processor. It's an update of the 865.
Okay. But I mean, there's no excuse to give the latest processor. Look at Samsung. They can put an A65 Plus on a flip phone, the Galaxy Z Flip 5G.
Yeah.
You also have the same processor on the Galaxy Z Fold 2. You also have the same A65 Plus processor on the Galaxy Tab S7 Plus. So I don't see why they can't give you a newer processor.
Because Samsung is listening to its customers. I don't know lah. Okay, so what you would, not me like Xiaomi.
Yeah. But, but if we can't afford to pay so much for this, there's also the Mi 10T Lite.
Okay, so before you go into the Mi 10T, okay, we that's a good point. We have the Mi 10T Lite to talk about.
Yeah.
But before you even think about a cheaper version, but I think my argument is going to fail lah, because
why?
Okay, this one comes with the antibacterial case and screen protector. The Mi 10T Lite also have, right?
Mi 10T Lite, I'm not sure. I think
so
my
my point is moot lah. Okay, so if you want, I guess if you want to get this, all the other ones don't have an antibacterial screen protector and case. I mean, okay, no. The thing is, if you want to like berkira, if you want to like be calculative about, this should be the T and it's like 300 mAh more or less and whatever, right? Might as well just throw whatever they have and say, okay, it comes with a case, antibacterial case and antibacterial screen protector that the other phones don't have.
Okay, health warning, you still need to wash your hands and you still need to sanitize your phone as much as possible.
I'm trying to say it's not a big deal for me. I wouldn't go into the nitty gritty and say, this is not the latest processor lah, this is like this is not the biggest battery lah, whatever. I'm contradicting myself. Okay, I'm sorry guys. I want to say specs don't matter, but then I did talk about like the stereo speakers need to be good. I did talk about the screen needs to be AMOLED. I did talk about this LCD is crap. But okay, my argument on that is that those are experiences. Again, I'm like fighting against myself because then you would argue the same thing, right? A processor. Yeah. I think I should do this show by myself today. The processor would give you a better experience.
Yeah,
arguably lah. I mean, I would argue no, but arguably lah.
And also give you that sense of confidence. Saying I'm buying a phone right now and it has the latest stuff right now. Right now it's like you buy this and then what? It's still using an older processor. I should be getting a newer processor because this is a flagship phone. If I'm getting a mid-range phone, yeah, sure, it's fine.
Okay, so before we go into the Mi 10 T Lite, I just want to pose this question to you guys watching the video. Between the Mi 10T, Mi 10T Pro, Poco F2 Pro, and the Mi 10, all roughly the same specs. The Poco F2 is like here in terms of the pricing spectrum, about 1.5. This is in the middle, about 2K ish, 3K ish,
under 3K,
2.5K ish, and then right in the middle there is the Mi 10. Which one would you get?
Well, Pak beli Poco.
So he's going to get the Poco. I will probably get the Poco also. All right, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you guys. Now, let's move on to the third phone that was announced this week during the Xiaomi announcement is the Mi 10 T Lite. So take us through the specs.
Okay, despite not giving the latest processor on this one, the Mi 10T Lite has the latest Snapdragon 750G. So that's the most affordable 5G chipset from Qualcomm right now. So it's like the mid-range, the new mid-range processor.
The top end of the mid-range, right?
Yeah, with 5G. Sorry, not the top, the lowest top end mid-range. Lowest. I'm contradicting myself.
The lowest top end mid-range.
Yeah.
What?
Okay, to keep it simple, it's the cheapest 5G for mid-range. Because previously Qualcomm has the 765G. Okay. So that apparently is still quite costly. So they make a cheaper version called the 750G. So if you look at the actual specs, right, it's actually like the 730G, which has been very common, slightly better with additional 5G modem. Okay. Yeah, and that in terms of design, it looks like the Poco X3 NFC. You still get that weird camera bump at the back, but there's some slight difference that the flash is no longer in the bump, but it's outside. Yep. And the screen is actually quite similar. It's also an LCD screen. It pushes 120 Hz, just like the Poco X3 NFC. Stereo speakers the same. The biggest difference is the battery. Instead of giving you the 5,160 mAh battery, this one's slightly smaller. It's about 4,800. But the rest are the same. You still get a 64 megapixel main camera. You still get like a 8 megapixel ultra wide angle lens. You got two megapixel cameras for your depth sensing, macro, and all that.
Stereo speakers? Stereo
speakers, but I reckon it's going to be as soft as the X3 NFC. Yeah.
Okay, so the Mi 10 Lite, Xiaomi is placing it very close to the X3 NFC, the Poco phone, the Poco. Yep. I think the price would be roughly the same.
Maybe I think it'll be slightly more. I expect it to be maybe 1,200, 1,500 around that range.
So this, when it comes to budget phones, right? The mindset of people buying these phones are really the most that they can get from the phone, and arguably they want the latest processor, they want the biggest battery, they want the loudest speakers, they want the best displays, the highest refresh rate you can get. Xiaomi, the purveyor of cheap and good phones, maybe 3-4 years ago, seem to me have kind of like lost the plot right now. I don't know.
For me, I think it's just trying to fill a gap. We have a phone this price, we got this phone this price. Let's release another phone in this price. Is it competing, cannibalizing? Who cares? Just flood the market.
Yeah, but if they do that, the X3 NFC would tap out this phone like super. Not this phone, but the Mi 10 Lite super easy.
Yeah, because the thing is, we don't need 5G right now, and X3 NFC is pretty capable for the price, and it has a bigger battery. So I don't see why people want to buy the Mi 10T Lite.
It's at least 200 ringgit cheaper.
Yeah. Or more.
Yeah. Okay. I think there's not much to talk about when it comes to the Mi 10T Lite, other than 750G processor, same camera. Anything interesting to highlight?
For me, the software I like.
Yeah.
The Lite, yeah, basically it's like a more premium version of the X3 NFC.
How do you why do you say it's premium?
Because okay, you get a better processor, and the back is made out is using Gorilla Glass.
The X3 NFC is using a
plastic back.
No, the processor.
It's a 732G. It's a mid-range processor. It's pretty capable. So I would say that the performance is not far off from the Mi 10T Lite. Yeah. The only difference is that you don't get 5G.
Yeah. So I guess that's pretty much it today. Mi 10T range, the Mi 10T, Mi 10T Pro, and Mi 10T Lite. We did put out the question whether between the Mi 10T, Mi 10T Pro, the Mi 10, and the Poco F2 Pro, which one would you get? The F2 Pro being the earlier phone, the older phone, but it still launched not this year.
It's this year.
It was launched this year?
Yeah, this year. It's after the Mi 10.
And it's cheaper now,
yeah.
1.5-ish and below. And then we have the Mi 10, which is around the same age as the Poco F2 Pro. Probably around the same price as well.
Slightly more expensive.
And then we have the latest, Mi 10T, Mi 10T Pro. Not much of a difference between the two, only the camera. You don't get the latest processor like Alex mentioned, but it's still a capable processor. So the question is whether you should get it or not. Obviously, if you like the Mi experience, then yeah, that should be the way to go. But there are cheaper phones available and similarly capable phones available for cheaper in the market right now. And then of course we have the Mi 10 Lite, which is really not much to highlight about.
Yep.
Again, if you're looking for a phone that's cheap and good below RM1,000, the Poco X3 NFC is the way to go. Okay, that's pretty much it. That's the Let's Talk About for Mi 10 series. Anything else you want to add, Alex?
I think that's pretty much it. But I must add one more thing is that for those who are using the Mi 90, the last year's range, I think they'll be disappointed to find that the price for this is so much more expensive because the Mi 90 was super good value for money. Although it's running on a Snapdragon 730 processor, you get a more versatile camera setup. This telephoto camera. And then you also have an AMOLED screen. And it's priced at 1,300 ringgit. And then the Pro version, which has the Snapdragon 855, that's about 1,007, which is still pretty good value, and you don't lose out a lot in terms of the camera features. This feels a bit compromised. Yeah, they try to sugarcoat it with a bigger battery, with a 144Hz screen, but yet, like you said, the screen is quite inferior.
Yeah, definitely not going to pay 2,000 bucks for this. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, everybody, I think we've come to the end of the show. As always, those who are watching us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you like the video, comment, suggestions, questions, recommendations. If you feel that you want to discuss, put them in the comment section below. We're super happy to see what you have to say. For those of you who are listening to us on podcast or watching us on YouTube, I would like to recommend you to have a listen to the show on podcast. We're available on Spotify, Switcher, Google, wherever you listen to podcasts. We are there. All you need to do is search for Surya Chin Chow. Let's Talk About, and we're there. If you're listening to us on podcasts, please do give us a 5-star rating if you like the show, because that helps us a lot in getting the show to a lot more people. Okay, everybody, that's pretty much it. This is Amin.
And this is Alex.
And thanks for watching. Catch you guys later. Bye.
Bye.